The year was 2347 and humanity had spread across the stars. They had colonies on dozens of worlds in 17 different star systems. One of the most peaceful colonies was called New Haven. It sat in the Kepler 442 system, far from Earth but close to the hearts of the 2.3 million people who called it home. New Haven was a simple place. Farmers grew crops in rich soil. Children went to schools and played in parks. Families built homes and dreamed of futures among the stars. The people there had no army. They had no weapons. They believed in peace because humanity had always told them peace was the answer. Admiral Daniel Carter was sitting in his office aboard the carrier Relentless when everything changed. He was reading reports and drinking coffee when his door opened suddenly. Lieutenant Katie Morgan stood there with a pale face and shaking hands. "Sir, you need to hear this," she said. She played the message on his screen. It was broken and full of static, but the words were clear enough. "They are killing everyone. The Vethrani fleet came without warning. They are not taking prisoners. They are burning everything. Please help us. Someone please help." Then the message stopped. Daniel felt his blood turn cold. He ordered Katie to play it again. Then again. Each time, the desperation in that voice cut deeper into his soul. "Get me a drone in that system now," he ordered. Within hours, the reconnaissance drones sent back images. Daniel stared at his screen and felt his heart break. New Haven was gone. Not damaged, not occupied. Gone. The cities had been turned into craters of melted glass. The farmlands were black ash. The forests were burning. Every building, every home, every hospital and school was destroyed. There were no survivors. Not one. The Vethrani Dominion had been at peace with humanity for 40 years. There had been no arguments. There had been no threats. There had been no warning at all. One day they simply appeared in orbit around New Haven and started killing everyone. Daniel watched the footage of Vethrani ships shooting down civilian evacuation shuttles. He watched them bomb shelters where families had hidden. He watched them hunt down survivors in the ruins and execute them. Children, old people, everyone. He had seen war before. He had seen death before. But he had never seen anything like this. The message spread across human space within hours. On every world, people stopped what they were doing and stared at their screens in disbelief. Families tried to contact loved ones on New Haven. There was no answer. There would never be an answer again. Secretary General Nathan Brooks called an emergency meeting of the United Earth Council. Leaders from every human world gathered in a massive chamber on Earth. Some of them were crying. Some of them were shaking with rage. All of them were in shock. Nathan stood at the front of the room. His hands trembled as he held the report. He had read it 5 times and still could not believe it. 2,300,000 people, he said. That is how many human beings died on New Haven. They did not die in battle. They were not soldiers. They were farmers and teachers and children. The Vethrani killed them all like they were nothing. Admiral Laura Chen stood up. She commanded the Pacific Fleet, and she had lost friends on New Haven. "They murdered our people like insects," she said. Her voice was hard as steel. "They hunted down civilians for sport. They shot children. This was not war. This was extermination." Councilman Greg Patterson raised his hand. He was known for always wanting peace at any cost. "Perhaps we should wait," he said. "Perhaps this was a mistake. Maybe a rogue commander gave the order. We should talk to them and find out what happened before we do anything." "A mistake?" Daniel spoke for the first time. The room went quiet. "They systematically destroyed every city. They tracked down every shelter and blew it open. They followed every escaping ship and shot it down. That is not a mistake. That is a plan. That is genocide." For 3 days, the council debated. Some wanted to sue for peace. Some wanted revenge. Some wanted to hide and hope the Vethrani would leave them alone. But as the days passed, More information came in. The Vethrani were already moving toward other human colonies. They were not stopping. They were not talking. They were preparing to do it again. Commander Ryan Mitchell listened to the debates in silence. He had not spoken a single word in 3 days. His sister had lived on New Haven. She had been a teacher there. She had sent him a message just 2 days before the attack, telling him about her students and how much she loved her life there. Now, she was ash. When Ryan finally spoke, everyone stopped to listen. For 40 years we showed this galaxy what mercy looked like, he said slowly. We ended wars with words. We shared our technology with anyone who asked. We welcomed refugees from every species. We believed that if we were kind, others would be kind in return. We thought they would learn from our example. He paused and looked around the room. We were wrong. They did not see mercy. They saw weakness. They thought we were soft. They thought we were prey. The Vethrani looked at humanity and saw a species that would not fight back. And so they decided to slaughter us. Nathan Brooks looked at the faces around him. He saw fear and grief and anger. He saw people who had spent their whole lives believing in peace, now forced to face a terrible truth. We have a choice, he said. We can continue to show mercy to those who would destroy us. We can hope they will stop. We can pray for peace while more of our people die. He took a deep breath. Or we can show them what happens when you push humanity too far. The vote was called. Every hand went up. Every single representative voted the same way. There was no opposition. There was no debate. Humanity had made its decision. Nathan stepped forward and activated the broadcast system. Every world in human space would hear this. Every species in the galaxy would hear this. The Vethrani would hear this. 40 years ago, humanity chose mercy, he said into the camera. Deep beneath the surface of Earth's moon, there were doors that had not been opened in 100 years. They were sealed with codes that only 5 people in all of human space knew. Behind those doors lay secrets that most humans believed were just stories. Admiral Daniel Carter stood before those doors with Captain Michelle Torres at his side. She was his second in command, and she had served with him for 15 years. She thought she knew everything about the human military. She was wrong. The doors opened slowly. Lights flickered on inside a hangar so large that Michelle could not see the end of it. And inside that hangar were ships. Hundreds of ships. Ships that no record said existed. Ships that had been built in secret and hidden away, waiting for a day that everyone hoped would never come. The contingency fleet, Michelle whispered. I thought it was just a legend, a story to scare children. Every government keeps secrets, Daniel replied. This was ours. We built these ships, and we hid them away. We prayed we would never need them. That prayer just ended. Across human space, similar scenes played out. On Mars, reserve fleets powered up for the first time in decades. On the colony worlds, factories that had been making farming equipment and household goods shut down their old lines. Within days, those same factories were producing weapons and ammunition. Veterans who had retired long ago received calls. Men and women who had put away their uniforms picked them up again. They kissed their families goodbye and reported for duty. Nobody had to explain why. Everybody knew. Dr. Kevin Park worked in a research facility on the dark side of Earth. His work was classified at the highest level. For 30 years, he had developed weapons that humanity had deemed too terrible to use. He had built devices that could break planets. He had created viruses that could eat through ship armor like acid. He had designed systems that were so deadly, even thinking about them kept him awake at night. Every single one of those projects had been locked in sealed vaults. Every single one had been marked as too dangerous for a civilized species to use. Kevin received the call at 3 in the morning. He listened to the voice on the other end and felt his heart sink. I understand, he said quietly. I will have everything ready within 2 weeks. He hung up the phone and sat in the darkness for a long time. He had built these weapons hoping they would never leave the vault. Now they would, and the galaxy would burn. "We always knew this day might come," he told his team the next morning. "We built these tools and we prayed we would never need them. We hoped that mercy would protect us forever. That hope is dead. Now we do what we must." While humanity prepared for war, the Vethrani were busy in other ways. Their ambassador appeared before the Galactic Council, the great gathering of all known species. He stood at the center of the chamber and demanded that the other species condemn humanity. "The humans are preparing an attack," the ambassador said. "They are aggressive and dangerous. The Galactic Council must stop them before they threaten us all." Several species, afraid of Vethrani power, began nodding. They had seen what the Vethrani did to New Haven. They did not want that to happen to their own worlds. Better to side with the strong, they thought. Then the human ambassador walked into the chamber. Her name was Megan Walsh, and she was 60 years old. She had spent her entire life working for peace. She had negotiated treaties with a dozen species. She had ended 3 wars with nothing but words. Every species in the galaxy knew her as a voice of reason and calm. Today, there was no calm in her eyes. "For 40 years, you have all benefited from human mercy," she said. Her voice was quiet, but it carried to every corner of the chamber. "You took our medicine when your people were sick. You took our food when your harvests failed. You asked for our help when you were in danger, and we gave it freely. We asked for nothing in return." She walked slowly toward the center of the room. "Some of you mocked us. You called us soft and weak. Some of you pitied us. You thought we were too gentle to survive in a harsh galaxy, and the Vethrani, it seems, saw us as prey, easy targets. Sheep to be slaughtered." She stopped directly in front of the Vethrani ambassador. He was taller than her by 2 feet. He had claws that could tear through metal. He smiled down at her with the confidence of a predator. Megan did not flinch. "You are about to learn something important," she said. "You are about to see what humanity looks like when we stop being merciful. I suggest everyone here stay out of our way." The Vethrani ambassador laughed. "You threaten us? Your species is nothing. You have no real military. You have no real weapons. We destroyed your colony in a single day. We will destroy the rest of you just as easily." Megan smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "You destroyed a farming colony with no defenses. You killed civilians who could not fight back. You think that makes you strong?" She shook her head slowly. "You have no idea what you have done. You have no idea what is coming." She turned and walked out of the chamber. Every eye followed her. Back on Earth, Secretary General Nathan Brooks met with his military commanders in a bunker deep beneath the mountains. General Amanda Price led the briefing. She had commanded human forces for 20 years, and she knew every detail of Vethrani military power. "The Vethrani Dominion controls 32 star systems," she explained. "They have approximately 9,000 warships. Their military is built around intimidation. They attack weak targets and avoid fair fights. Their soldiers are trained to kill, but they have never faced an enemy that was not afraid of them." Nathan studied the maps and numbers. "What is your assessment, General?" Amanda looked at him with steady eyes. "They made a mistake, sir. They thought our mercy meant we could not fight. They thought our kindness meant we were weak. They are wrong." She pulled up new images on the screen. Ships that the Vethrani had never seen. Weapons that the galaxy did not know existed. "We held back for 40 years, she continued. "We built our strength in secret. We prepared for the day when peace would fail. That day has come. The Vethrani have 9,000 ships. We have more. They have weapons designed to scare enemies into surrender. We have weapons designed to win." Nathan was quiet for a long moment. "Can we defeat them?" he finally asked. Amanda nodded. We can destroy them, sir. The question is not whether we can win. The question is how far we are willing to go. Nathan thought of New Haven. He thought of 2.3 million people who were now nothing but ash. He thought of children who would never grow up. He thought of families who would never come home. 6 weeks had passed since the destruction of New Haven. The Vethrani High Command sat in their war room, confident and calm. They expected humans to attack their outer colonies first. That was standard military thinking. Start small. Work your way in. Probe the defenses before committing to a major assault. The Vethrani had positioned their fleets accordingly, heavy defenses at the border, lighter forces protecting the inner worlds. Their homeworld, Vethra Prime, sat at the heart of their territory, protected by the most advanced defense grid in the galaxy. Thousands of weapon satellites surrounded it. No enemy had ever reached Vethra Prime. No enemy ever would. At least, that was what they believed. Admiral Daniel Carter stood on the bridge of the Relentless. Around him, the combined human fleet hung in the darkness of space, 3,000 warships, the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. Every ship was armed with weapons the galaxy had never seen. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said Lieutenant Katie Morgan. Daniel looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, 2.3 million of his people had died without a chance to fight back. Somewhere out there, children had been hunted down and killed like animals. Somewhere out there, the Vethrani were celebrating their easy victory. "Set course for Vethra Prime," he ordered. Katie stared at him. "Sir, that is their homeworld. They have the strongest defenses in their entire empire." "I know. They will see us coming. They will have time to prepare." "I know. Sir, with respect, this seems like madness?" Daniel turned to face her. "It would be if we were fighting by normal rules, but we are not fighting by normal rules anymore. Commander Henderson, are your ships ready?" Commander Scott Henderson appeared on the screen. He was a thin man with tired eyes and oil stains on his uniform. He had spent the last 6 weeks working without sleep. "Ready, Admiral," he said. 300 cargo ships, modified exactly as you ordered. They will never know what hit them." The fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed. The journey to Vethra Prime took 3 days. During that time, the Vethrani detected them. They saw the human fleet coming directly at their homeworld. They could not believe it. "It is suicide," the Vethrani Supreme Commander said. "Our defense grid will destroy them before they get within weapons range. The humans have lost their minds." He ordered all defensive systems to maximum power. Every satellite, every platform, every automated weapon was activated. The grid locked onto the approaching human fleet and prepared to fire. Then Scott Henderson's cargo ships arrived. 300 civilian freighters dropped out of faster-than-light speed ahead of the main fleet. Each one was filled with nothing but scrap metal and old machinery. Each one had engines programmed to fly straight at the nearest target. The Vethrani defense grid did exactly what it was designed to do. It locked onto the nearest threats and opened fire. Thousands of missiles and energy beams tore through the cargo ships. Explosions lit up the space around Vethra Prime like fireworks. "We are destroying them," the Supreme Commander announced proudly. "The fools sent their ships to die." Then the real human fleet arrived. The defense grid had wasted its ammunition on worthless decoys. The satellites needed time to reload, the platforms needed time to recharge, and the humans gave them no time at all. "All ships weapons-free," Daniel commanded. What happened next was not a battle. It was a lesson. Human ships fired weapons the Vethrani had never imagined. Gravity lances reached out and crushed Vethrani cruisers like paper. The massive warships folded in on themselves, their crews dead before they could even scream. Viral code invaded Vethrani computer systems and turned their own weapons against them. Ships fired on each other, unable to tell friend from enemy. And then there were the swarm missiles. thousands of small projectiles that moved like living things. They dodged defenses. They adapted to countermeasures. They thought for themselves. Each one found a target, and each one hit. The Vethrani fleet tried to respond. They fired their weapons. They launched their fighters. They followed every protocol they had ever trained for. None of it mattered. Pilot Lisa Rodriguez led her fighter squadron through the battle. She was 28 years old. Her parents had died on New Haven. They had been doctors at the main hospital. They had probably been treating patients when the bombs fell. Splash 1, she reported as she destroyed a Vethrani fighter. Splash 2, Splash 3, each kill was for them. Each trigger pull was a small piece of justice. Splash 12, she said finally. Her voice was flat, empty. She felt nothing but cold purpose. On the ground, Marine Colonel Derek Santos led the assault on Vethrani Military Command. His transport ships landed under heavy fire. Soldiers poured out and advanced through streets filled with debris and smoke. The Vethrani ground forces were well trained. They had good weapons. They had strong positions. But they had never fought an enemy like this. Human soldiers moved like ghosts. They worked together perfectly. They covered each other without needing to speak. They cleared buildings and secured positions with terrible efficiency. They had trained for years for exactly this kind of fight. Derek led from the front. He had lost his daughter on New Haven. She had been 8 years old. She had loved to draw pictures of butterflies. "Push forward," he ordered. "No stops until we reach the command center." The fighting lasted 14 hours. The Vethrani Supreme Commander watched his forces crumble. His fleet was debris. His army was broken. His satellites were scrap metal floating in orbit. He activated his communication system and broadcast on all frequencies. "I wish to negotiate surrender," he said. "We will stop fighting. We will pay reparations. We will—" Derek heard the message. He stopped in the middle of a ruined street and looked up at the sky. "You wanted to exterminate us," he replied. "You gave no mercy to our people. Did you think we would accept your surrender the same way you accepted the surrenders of New Haven? Did you think we would show you the kindness you denied to our children?" There was silence on the channel. "The fighting continues," Derek said. "You will learn what it means to face humanity at war." The battle raged for 3 more days. Every military installation was destroyed. Every warship was hunted down. Every weapon that could threaten human lives was eliminated. When it finally ended, Admiral Daniel Carter stood on the bridge of the Relentless and looked down at Vethra Prime. The planet was still there. The cities were still standing. Smoke rose from military bases, but the civilian areas were untouched. "Admiral," Katie said quietly, "the Vethrani civilian population is sending desperate messages. They are begging for mercy." Daniel closed his eyes. This moment would define everything. This moment would show the galaxy what humanity truly was. Captain Torres stepped closer. "Sir, after what they did to New Haven, no one would blame us if we became like them?" Daniel shook his head. "No. That is exactly what we will not do." He opened his eyes and looked at his crew. "Transmit on all channels. Civilian populations will not be targeted. The fall of Vethra Prime sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The Vethrani Dominion had been one of the most powerful empires in known space. Their military had seemed unbeatable. Their fleets had conquered dozens of worlds over centuries. Humanity had broken them in 3 days. But the war was not over. The Vethrani still controlled 31 other star systems. They still had ships scattered across their territory. They still had soldiers and weapons and the will to fight. Their leaders, who had survived the attack on the homeworld, rallied what remained of their forces. "We will rebuild," the new Supreme Commander announced. "We will fortify our remaining systems. We will gather allies. The humans caught us by surprise once. It will not happen again." He positioned fleets at every major world. He built new defense platforms. He sent messages to other species, asking for help against the human threat. He prepared for a long war of attrition. He had no idea what was coming. General Tyler Graham commanded the human ground forces assigned to pacify the Vethrani outer worlds. He was a large man with gray hair and kind eyes that had seen too much death. His orders were clear, and he repeated them to every soldier under his command. "We destroy military targets only," he said. "Every soldier who surrenders becomes a prisoner. Every civilian is protected. We do not bomb cities. We do not poison water supplies. We do not burn crops. Is that understood?" His soldiers nodded. They understood. Some of them had wanted revenge. Some of them had dreamed of making the Vethrani suffer the way New Haven had suffered. But they were soldiers, not murderers. They followed orders. Major Brandon Hughes stood beside General Graham as they approached the first target. It was a Vethrani military base on a world called Korath 7. Intelligence said there were 5,000 enemy soldiers there. "Sir, we could end this faster if we were not so careful," Brandon said. "One orbital strike would eliminate the entire base." "And the civilian town 2 miles away?" Brandon was silent. "We could kill 10,000 Vethrani civilians with one bomb," Tyler said. "We have the power to do that. We choose not to. That choice is what makes us human." The battle for Korath 7 lasted 2 days. Human forces landed under fire and fought through fortified positions. They took casualties. They lost good soldiers. But they won, and when they won, the Vethrani soldiers who surrendered were taken prisoner. They were fed and given medical care. They were treated with dignity. The civilians in the nearby town watched in disbelief. They had expected death. They had expected suffering. They had expected the humans to do what the Vethrani would have done. Instead, human soldiers helped repair damaged buildings. They shared food with hungry children. They set up medical stations for the sick and wounded. "Why?" one Vethrani civilian asked a human medic. "Why are you helping us? We killed your people." The medic, a young woman named Susan Grant, looked at him with tired eyes. "Your military killed our people. Your government ordered the attack. You are just a farmer. Your children did not make those choices. They should not die for them." Word spread. Across Vethrani space, civilians began to hear stories. The humans were not monsters. The humans did not murder prisoners. The humans protected the innocent even while they destroyed the guilty. It was more terrifying than any weapon. General Graham's forces struck simultaneously across 11 systems. Where the Vethrani expected long campaigns, they found swift and precise attacks. Human ships appeared without warning. Human soldiers hit military targets with overwhelming force. And then they stopped. They did not advance on civilian areas. They did not massacre populations. They destroyed what needed to be destroyed and nothing more. "They are showing us exactly what they can do," one Vethrani commander realized, "and they are showing us exactly what they choose not to do. They want us to understand. They could kill us all. They are choosing not to." "That makes them weak," another officer said. "No, that makes them controlled. That makes them disciplined. An enemy who fights in blind rage can be predicted. An enemy who fights with cold precision while angry enough to destroy worlds cannot be. They are more dangerous than anything we have ever faced." Throughout the galaxy, other species watched the war unfold. They watched human fleets crush every Vethrani military force they encountered. They watched human soldiers win battle after battle. And they watched humans spare civilians who should have been enemies. On the trading station called Nexus Prime, Merchant Captain Chris Webber sat in a bar and listened to 2 alien traders talking. "I always thought humans were soft," one said. He had 4 arms and skin like blue leather. "They were always talking about peace, always offering help, always being nice. I thought they were weak." "We all did," the other replied. She had scales and a tail and eyes that never blinked. We thought their mercy was because they could not do better. We thought they were prey pretending to be predators. We were wrong. Very wrong. Look at what they did to the Vethrani. Their homeworld fell in 3 days. Their military is being destroyed piece by piece. The humans have weapons we have never seen. They have tactics we cannot understand. They could burn every Vethrani world to ash. But they do not. No, they do not. And that is what frightens me most. They are not restraining themselves because they lack power. They are restraining themselves because they choose to. They are still thinking clearly. They are still making decisions. A species that can be that angry and still maintain that much control is more dangerous than any mindless berserker. Ambassador Megan Walsh received visitors every day. Species that had ignored humanity for decades suddenly wanted to talk. Trade agreements appeared on her desk. Defense pacts were offered. Requests for alliance came from worlds that had never shown interest in humans before. She reported to Secretary General Nathan Brooks during one of their regular briefings. "It is fascinating," she said. "We spent 20 years trying to build relationships with these species through diplomacy. We offered help. We shared technology. We were patient and kind. Most of them barely noticed us. And now? Now they are lining up at our door. They saw what we did to the Vethrani. They saw our power. And more importantly, they saw our restraint. They understand something now that they never understood before." "What is that?" Megan smiled, but there was no joy in it. "They understand that human mercy is a gift. It is not weakness. It is not inability. It is a choice we make because we believe it is right, and a gift can be taken away." Nathan looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, human soldiers were still fighting, still dying, still destroying an empire that had thought humanity was easy prey. "I hoped we had evolved past this," he said quietly. "I hoped that peace through understanding was possible. I believed that if we showed kindness, others would learn from it." "Some did," Megan replied. "Many species have been good partners, good friends. They appreciated what we offered and they gave back in return. But others only saw opportunity. They saw a species that would not fight back. They saw victims waiting to happen. And now? Now they see the truth. Peace through superior firepower. It is an ugly phrase, but it works." In the Vethrani systems that had already fallen, reconstruction began. Human engineers helped repair power plants. Human doctors treated the sick. Human teachers worked with Vethrani children who had never known anything but war. Colonel Derek Santos walked through a rebuilt town on Korath 7. A Vethrani child ran up to him and offered a small flower. Derek knelt down and accepted it gently. 1 year had passed since the destruction of New Haven. The war was officially over. The Vethrani Dominion no longer existed. Their government had collapsed. Their military had been completely destroyed. Their worlds were now under supervised independence, watched by human observers who made sure they would never be a threat again. The fighting had cost lives on both sides. Human soldiers had died in battles across 32 star systems. Families had lost fathers and mothers, sons and daughters. The price of victory had been paid in blood. But it was over. On the world where New Haven had once stood, construction crews worked day and night. They were not rebuilding the colony. That was impossible. The ground was still poisoned from the weapons that had destroyed it. Nothing would grow there for 100 years. Instead, they were building a memorial, a monument to the 2.3 million people who had died, a reminder of what had happened and why it should never happen again. Admiral Daniel Carter stood at the dedication ceremony. He was older now. The war had aged him in ways that went beyond gray hair and tired eyes. He had seen things that would haunt him forever. He had done things that needed to be done. He had carried a weight that few could understand. Around him stood thousands of people, families of the dead, survivors from other colonies, soldiers who had fought in the war. They had come from across human space to remember and to honor. Commander Ryan Mitchell walked slowly along the memorial wall. Names were carved into stone that stretched for miles, 2,300,000 names, each one a person who had lived and loved and dreamed. He found his sister's name near the middle of the wall, just her name and the dates of her life. No title, no description, just proof that she had existed. "I miss you," he whispered, "every single day." Colonel Derek Santos stood beside him. His daughter's name was on the wall, too. She had been visiting her aunt on New Haven when the attack came. She had been so excited about the trip. She had packed her bag with her favorite toys and her drawing supplies. "Was it worth it?" Ryan asked quietly. "Everything we did, everything we became, was it worth it?" Derek thought about the question for a long time. "No," he finally said. "Nothing could make it worth it." "Nothing could bring them back. Nothing could undo what happened. We did not fight for worth. We did not fight for revenge. We fought to make sure it never happens again." "Did we succeed?" "Look around. The Vethrani will never threaten anyone again. Their military is gone forever. Other species saw what happens when you push humanity too far. They learned. They will remember." He paused. "It is not justice. Justice would be our people alive and well. This is not even revenge. Revenge would mean becoming like them. This is just the only thing we could do. We protected the future by destroying the threat. That is all." Ryan nodded slowly. He touched his sister's name one last time and turned away. In Geneva on Earth, Secretary General Nathan Brooks addressed a joint session of the United Earth Council. Representatives from every human world had gathered to hear him speak. The chamber was silent as he walked to the podium. "1 year ago, we learned something terrible about ourselves," he began. "We learned that mercy has limits. We learned that kindness can be seen as weakness. We learned that the galaxy is not as safe as we hoped it was." He looked out at the faces watching him. He saw grief and strength and determination. "We also learned something else. We learned what we are capable of when we have no choice. We learned how to fight. We learned how to win. And most importantly, we learned how to stop. We destroyed our enemy's ability to hurt us, but we did not destroy them as a people. We showed power and we showed restraint. Both were necessary." He took a deep breath. "To our friends across the galaxy, we remain committed to peace. We will help those who need help. We will share with those who share with us. We will be kind to those who treat us with respect." His voice hardened. "To those who might consider attacking humanity in the future, I offer this warning. We will always seek peace. We will always reach out with open hands first. We will be patient. We will be understanding. We will be merciful for as long as mercy is returned." He leaned forward. "But if you harm our people, if you think our kindness is permission to be cruel, you will discover what happens when we stop being merciful. You will face the full strength of humanity at war, and you will not enjoy the lesson. Ask the Vethrani if you doubt me." The message was broadcast to every corner of the known galaxy. Every species heard it. Every government understood. In the months and years that followed, humanity was never attacked again. Not by the remains of the Vethrani, not by any other species, not by anyone. It was not because humans were loved. Some species still feared them. Some still resented them. Some still whispered that humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too willing to fight. But no one acted on those feelings. No one dared. The lesson of New Haven had been taught. The lesson of the Vethrani War had been learned. Human mercy was real, but it was not unconditional. Cross the line, and there would be consequences. Dr. Kevin Park returned to his research facility after the war. He locked away the terrible weapons he had unleashed, the gravity lances, the viral codes, the swarm missiles. All of it went back into sealed vaults behind doors that most people did not know existed. "Will we ever need them again?" his assistant asked. Kevin shook his head. "I hope not. I pray not. But we will keep them ready just in case. That is the lesson we learned. Hope for peace. Prepare for war. Trust, but verify. Be kind, but be strong." On the memorial world of New Haven, the monument was completed. A simple inscription was carved at the entrance. "We came in peace. We will never forget those who answered peace with genocide, and we will never let it happen again." Visitors came from across human space. They walked among the names of the dead. They left flowers and messages and tears. They remembered. Children who had been born after the war grew up learning about New Haven. They learned about the people who had died. They learned about the war that followed. They learned about the choice humanity had made to destroy a threat without becoming monsters. "Why did we spare them?" a young girl asked her grandmother at the memorial. "They killed all these people. Why did we not kill them back?" Her grandmother, who had lost her husband in the war, knelt down beside her. "Because that is not who we are," she said gently. "We fought to protect ourselves. We fought to make sure it would never happen again. But we did not fight to become like them. We are better than that. We are human. That means something." The girl looked at the wall of names, so many names, so many people who would never come home. "I think I understand," she said. "Good, never forget, but never become what you fought against. That is the human way." The stars continued to turn. Ships continued to sail between worlds. Humanity continued to grow and explore and reach for new horizons. They were still the species that believed in peace. They still reached out with open hands. They still shared their knowledge and helped those in need. But they kept their weapons ready. They kept their soldiers trained. They kept their terrible tools locked away but functional, because they had learned the hardest lesson of all. The galaxy respected strength. The galaxy remembered consequences. And the galaxy would never again make the mistake of thinking that human mercy meant human weakness. The last words of the memorial dedication ceremony were spoken by Admiral Daniel Carter. He stood before the endless wall of names and addressed the watching galaxy. "We built this place to remember," he said. "We built it to honor those who died. But we also built it as a warning, to ourselves and to everyone who sees it." He looked up at the stars. "We are humanity. We believe in peace. We believe in kindness. We believe in mercy. But we also believe in protecting our own. Push us too far and you will see what lies beneath the mercy. You will see what we become when we have no choice." He saluted the wall of names. "To those we lost, rest well. You are not forgotten. You will never be forgotten. And your deaths will never happen again. That is our promise. That is our oath. That is our purpose." He lowered his hand and walked away. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity would make sure it was never forgotten. "Thank you," he said in broken Vethrani. The child smiled and ran back to her mother. The mother watched with eyes full of confusion and something that might have been hope. Derek stood and tucked the flower into his uniform pocket. His daughter had loved flowers. She had drawn pictures of them every day, pictures that were now ash scattered across New Haven. He would never forgive the Vethrani military for what they had done. He would carry that anger until the day he died. But this child had done nothing wrong. Her mother had done nothing wrong. They did not deserve to suffer for the sins of their leaders. That was the difference. That was what made humanity worth fighting for. The war continued. The Vethrani military continued to fall. And the galaxy continued to watch in amazement and fear. They had finally seen what humanity was capable of when pushed too far. They would not forget. ETED. Medical ships are authorized to help the wounded. Food and water supplies will not be destroyed. Schools and hospitals are safe zones. Torres stared at him. Sir, they killed our children. They burned our families alive. Yes, they did. And if we do the same, we become exactly what they are. Monsters. Murderers. That is not what humanity is. That is not what we will ever be. He straightened his uniform. We came here to end a threat. We did that. Their military is destroyed. Their ability to hurt us is gone. That was the mission. The mission is complete. The message was broadcast across the galaxy. Every species heard it. Every government watched in amazement. The humans had the power to destroy everything. They had the anger to justify it. They had every reason to commit genocide. And they chose not to. That was more terrifying than any weapon. That was true strength. We go as far as we must, he said. No further. We will end this threat, but we will not become monsters. We will show them power they never imagined. But we will also show them something they never expected. What is that, sir? Restraint. We will kill their warriors and destroy their weapons. But we will spare their innocent. That is what will truly terrify them. Not that we can destroy everything, but that we choose not to. That is a kind of strength they cannot understand. Amanda saluted. Understood, sir. We will be ready within the month. Across human space, the war machine turned. Ships launched. Soldiers trained. Weapons were loaded and aimed at the stars. The galaxy had pushed humanity too far. Now they would see what happened when the sleeping giant finally woke up, believed in peace. We reached out with open hands. That time is now over. The Vethrani Dominion has chosen to make war on innocent people. They have murdered millions of our citizens without cause or warning. His eyes were hard. Effective immediately, humanity's policy of universal mercy is suspended. To the Vethrani Dominion and anyone who would stand with them, hear me clearly. You wanted war. You will receive it. And you will learn what humanity is truly capable of when we stop being kind. Across the galaxy, species who had known humanity as the gentle peacemakers suddenly felt something new. Something cold crept up their spines. For the first time in 40 years, they were afraid of humans. And they were right to be.